3 sides to every story.
How many?
3.
Okay.
There's your side, there's my side, and the truth.
No book is what a good cover looks like.
There are people out here. If you take just
Consideration
a minute,
to say
2
hello.
minutes to sit there and talk to them, you'd find out that 90% of them aren't monsters or drug addicts, and a lot of times that they just are going through a rough patch. Had life shit on them, and that's what they're doing. They're sitting there trying to survive, trying to get to a better place, but nobody's giving them a chance.
Currently, I have no ID, so I'm looking for work, but it's kind of difficult. My dad's been in the military 25 years. I was born in the Philippines, so I'm having difficulty getting ID to get back to work. Even if I do get work, I live in a park in a tent. I had to get a dog because I've had 2 violent offenses come at me. I've had knives pulled on me. I've been in violent episodes. I can only imagine the older people out here living in the streets. So just show love. I mean, wouldn't you do that for your neighbor?
Okay, I started a homeless registration campaign where I got 70 people to sign up. 70 people from the Silmar Armory Winter Shelter that closed down.
Thank you.
On Friday, many winter homeless shelters closed their doors, forcing 1,000 people back on the streets. I went to neighborhood council meetings. I talked to the city council, the county. I even went to LASA. I asked them keep it open. They said there's no funding. Today in the Daily News, they just published an article stating that $2.1 million will be used to continue the cleanups for increasing homeless encampments, the same encampments that are being created because the shelters closed. The funds will be transferred out of accounts for homeless services centers, safe parking, mobile showers, and other programs, the same services that the shelters offer. I'm asking to stop the lying, work together, get the funds and unlock the doors. Open the shelters up. They have to open. The people are on the streets. You want to help somebody? Start with 1,000 people and open the shelters. The funding is there. The funding is there. Open it.
Because I don't want it there to be an eyesore for the rest of the community. I buy my own trash bags, big ones, to help clean up the off-ramps where we work and panhandle. Because Caltrans won't give them to us anymore.
So
it's not like we're just a bunch of worthless bums. We do try to contribute and give back to the community that has been so very generous to us.
You would do a town hall meeting?
Yeah, I'd speak again.
What would you have to say?
There's so much to say about why are we being harassed like this. I understand trespassing, it's a misdemeanor, etc. But all these cases are getting thrown out by the judges. So it's an exercise in futility and a real waste of taxpayers' money. I really don't know either, because you have so many different factions of homeless people. That you've got the geriatric crew, which is most of us up on Nordoff. And then, you got the younger generation at Roscoe.
actual tent? Okay. What do you want to take? Take this off?
One trail was nicknamed the Heroin Trail for obvious reasons, because everybody's all spaced out.
Having said that, when you have something called the Heroin Trail,
Yeah.
do you think there's any justification for the police cleaning it out?
Yes. In a sense, yes. It's filthy dirty. I found needles all over. Some people have pets there. Dog, cat, whatever, could step on a needle. And, you just don't know who's got what.
All right.
My other gripe is, who are they to determine how many pairs of shoes I can have, or how many pairs of pants, dress pants, casual, it doesn't make sense. Personally, well, I was been in the hospital twice in 1 week
For what?
for my COPD, and it was. I went to Holy Cross the last time and got very excellent care, which
What kind of healthcare coverage do you have for that?
I have Medi-Cal, and my insurance carrier is HealthNet. So I'm doing okay as far as that goes.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that.
I got all my meds, but then when they cleared out the other place there, my meds are gone again. He had them all, the baskets, up front, right close to the sidewalk. And even though I wasn't there, I was out recycling, trying to earn an honest buck, as they say. I still got everything confiscated and come home to nothing. It's kind of scary. Yeah, that I would love to speak to a neighborhood council meeting again. I really enjoyed myself the first and only time I did it.
Yeah,
But
it's been a while.
yes, it has been, and it'd be worth it because both sides need to be heard. The whole crew came out and they did a on the spot mental health kind of evaluation. I have a worker and he's very good, but they didn't come to pick me up for my appointment. So, but those things happen. I'm not upset with that.
So what is LA Family Housing trying to arrange for you in terms of housing?
Permanent housing for an one-bedroom apartment in Canoga Park, near DeSoto and Sherman Way. And it's just a matter of they're evicting this one person for me to get that apartment.
Are you doing this through a Section 8 voucher?
No, I don't believe so. I think it's from mental health. He's hoping to get me off the streets by November.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it because at my age, 67 almost, the closest line to 70, I can't do another winter out here. I really can't.
This lady was in distress this morning, and she passed away. And it just keeps happening. You can't expect people to just sleep on cold sidewalk and be completely okay the next day. You can't expect them to be completely okay enough to walk in and apply for a job. It doesn't work that way. People need comfortable, safe places to be so that they can get back into community. And that's the whole thing. We have a system where people continuously fall through the cracks, and we know people fall through the cracks, but we don't have anything set up where when they do fall through the cracks, they can easily get off their feet, get back, get work. What happens? They fall through the cracks, they end up on the street, they get attacked on the streets, drives them crazy, and next thing you know, we see them in a tent, and that's not how a person's supposed to live.
But before we started the vigil here, we were just talking about how cold we were out here. And this is just for maybe an hour and a half at the most. Can you imagine what it's like to live on these streets every day? To know that you're not going to go home. To know that you're not going to be someplace warm every night. This is what they're having to deal with, the people on the streets. This woman out here knew she wasn't going to go home to a warm bed. This was her bed. This is where she lived. And to think that we have people like this every day, every corner, every single walk of life is out here.
Pretty symbolic that we stand in front of LAPD headquarters, an institution that's meant to protect the citizens of this city. Yet we find ourselves having a vigil for a woman who passed away, right here. And if you think about it, it's pretty symbolic of the city as a whole, where the city is supposed to protect its citizens, yet you know, we're losing 800 plus homeless people a year.
When I first saw the article this morning about a woman who died right next to the LAPD, I definitely wasn't surprised, but I was surprised that they wrote a whole article about it, because usually these things happen all the time here and they're so overlooked and no one seems to pay attention. An article isn't enough, this vigil isn't enough, because it's too late for us to say she does for this woman. She did deserve shelter, she didn't get it, and she died.
Men, women, children, there are all types of people from every nationality, every race. They're out here. Eric Garcetti, stop. Please. We have to help our people on the streets. It has to stop. She does, not just she does, everybody deserves a chance to get off the streets here. That's all I have to say. God bless.
Sing praise, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see.
We've been talking to Mayor Garcetti regarding the homeless crisis since the foreclosure crisis was taking place, where we saw a lot of families moving and living on their cars. And now we are seeing the epidemic of senior citizens being pushed out of their homes because of greedy developers and greedy investors.
One of the things that always astounds me is how our policymakers and elected officials really have no way of understanding that there's a very direct connection between evictions and homelessness. When people are evicted, they are being displaced. If they're being displaced into an unaffordable market, then they are likely to experience homelessness. We are seeing that more and more since October of 2016.
And it's becoming a very serious problem because, again, just like this woman that has a name, yet there's many others out there in Skid Row and throughout the city, because now it's scattered all over the city. And we have our city officials that are taking their time. We understand that that the homeless crisis is very complicated because it has many issues, but we want to see action. And so far, like the brothers say, we give them a fail because they have done absolutely very few things to move forward, to get people off the streets. This is why I unite myself with you today.
Like, how many more vigils do we have to go to? How many more lives do we have to lose? You know, how many of you went to the other vigil and the vigil before that? You know, it seems like people are just constantly dying on our street. It makes me sad, it makes me angry, it makes me pissed off. It's like no one's doing anything about it. Like everyone had said before, it's just us and a couple more people, a few organizations. It's just the same people. What needs to happen, everyone needs to come together. Our elected officials, politicians, our city leaders, you know, this is ridiculous. This is, like someone said before, someone's mother, someone's sister, someone's grandmother, and I feel like no one gives a shit, except, you know, a few people, and it makes me sad, it makes me angry, and this has to stop. This is not a political issue. It's a crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis, and it's ridiculous. We're living in this day and age, and, you know, no one gives a damn. So may she rest in peace, and I'm sorry that, you know, we failed her.
Count numbers are saying the homelessness is up 20% in the city of Los Angeles and up 23% in the county of Los Angeles, with no signs of slowing down. You know, I personally, as a community activist, in Skid Row, I can say homelessness is going to continue exactly the way it is for the next 10 to 15 years, because they're not trying to end homelessness, they're trying to control homelessness. As long as the entities control homelessness, they can control the funding. as long as they control the funding, it's job security for them and the people that are working those homeless jobs. So the big problem. So again, the Skid Row infrastructure, the biggest problem, the nonprofits, the poverty pimps.
I got a story to tell. It comes straight from the bowels of hell, because this forbidden fruit has demonic roots. And what was produced was taken from a tree of cocoa leaves. This is a tale of woe. This story would even make Edgar Allan Poe's blood turn cold. Quote the raven evermore. A weapon of mass destruction concocted by the father of lies. Pull it slow and hold your nose and say hello to your demise. Because the day you partake from it, you shall positively die. And wonder why crack babies cry. Its innocence was lost the day Adam tried to hide. He opened Pandora's box and sin looked around and opened his eyes and said, I'm alive. Then all we had left was hope. Let me tell you, y'all, this fruit is some cold-ass dope. If you don't believe me, go ahead and blow out some smoke. And then watch your own mind try to deceive you. Your daughters and wives, your family and friends, they're going to leave you. This forbidden fruit is surpassed by no other. It takes the place of any lover. It opens the door up to all your inhibitions. You're too near me not to hear me, so open your ears and pay attention. The sign says beware. You just walk through the devil's lair. Lions and tigers and bears sent to devour you. Sulfur pellets and pain rain down and shower you. This forbidden fruit feeds on your soul, and all that's left is a deep, dark, empty hole. Go ahead and yell, because all you'll hear is an echo. Hello, hello, hello. Where did my conscience go? And then evil starts to run the show. Serpent's forked tongue, let thy kingdom come. From this here city, you better stay one. Because it will be here till judgment day. The day forbidden fruit can no longer produce. It will be snatched straight by its roots. But until that day, let us pray for forbidden fruits in the days.
In terms of the policies that are coming out of City Hall, the very building we're in right now, and that's why we're doing this interview here, so that, in different floors, different rooms, or even in a hallway, it's all throughout this building. This is taxpayers, but this is we the people, this is our building. And we understand, politics. So the politicians, they create the policies, create the initiatives, supposedly, create the smartest guys in the room to create the solutions. When it comes to homelessness, there are a couple of things. One, they don't know what homelessness is. Two, they definitely don't know it from, boots on the ground, from the grassroots standpoint, from the streets. They don't walk through the streets of Skid Row. They don't know. That's the homeless capital of America in the city of Los Angeles. So what are the city of Los Angeles politicians doing about it? And we're, again, homeless, 2017 homeless count numbers, 20% increase in 12 months, 23% in LA County in 12 months. Initially, my first thing is, well, if there's a housing stock shortage, let's get some shovels in the ground.
Our job as collectively, getting people housed, the most difficult thing about that is that there are no affordable housing facilities. And that's really it, You can have the vouchers, you can have the benefits, you can have the resources to help get people housed, but without the actual physical housing, it's never gonna happen, and that's our biggest barrier right now.
Second, so much of the homeless discussion needs to, we really need to talk about policy, and where poor policy and regulations are adding to the problem. And finally, I think we're hearing some of that rhetoric and some of those discussions happen. But the interesting thing to me is that the policymakers who've created a lot of the regulations also can undo some of the regulations, and I don't see any of that happening. In fact, I see more regulations being added, like the discussion about developers' fees and what they're calling linkage fees. So they're looking at adding an additional, I think the latest figure was $8 to $12 per square foot to developers, and so we're already in a housing crisis.
So you're saying this would discourage people from wanting to develop affordable housing?
I already know developers who are moving out of California, who were building family homes and saying, I'm done. I'm not gonna, this is absurd to continue to add fees. Now we say, the developers are being are paying the fee. No, they're not. The consumer's paying the fee.
Right.
So we know our housing prices are out of control. So let's raise the prices even more. And as that discussion's happened through City Hall, the studies have shown that up to 2,000 families will become homeless because they won't be able to afford housing.
Yeah.
And then the rhetoric is, well, that's collateral damage. Well, you don't get to have any more collateral damage when there's tens of thousands of people living on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
It is not time for collateral damage.
Well, I think a broad coalition of us need to really keep putting pressure on the city, in particular Mayor Garcetti, to stop talking out of both sides of his mouth, because he continues to say he wants to solve the whole homeless crisis, but then he is allowing all these developers to build buildings in downtown LA. There are hotels going up. They want hotels in the Crenshaw district. They want hotels in Boyle Heights. It's all about the officials supporting playgrounds for the rich, while most people can't afford to live here anymore. So I think we need to continue to put our focus on them and getting them to do what they say they want to do, which is to provide housing.
We have around 25,000 Angelenos sleeping on our streets, and we know that that's not a safe environment. We need to create safe spaces, what we call navigation centers or navigation hubs, where people can have basic dignity. If it's taking a shower, using the bathroom any time of the day where they're safe to use the bathroom, a safe and clean place where they can lay their head down. So a little bit above a tent, if we can create safe parking programs, if we can expand even what we call intentional encampment areas, maybe revisiting the tiny home village model, places where people can at least have a door that they can lock, and while we're building the housing, become much safer and healthier environments.
Boom, 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 ping, boom, 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 ping, boom, 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 boom.
Were you getting the sunset? Look at this one.
Wow, it's really nice.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
So how long did it take you to do that one, for example?
Well, being as it's the only plate I had after sanitation and LEPD took everything, and Laura got me this plate.
Uh-huh.
So this one is going to be very expensive to buy. This one is very expensive.
How much you think? What would you like to think that's worth?
I want to get at least 50 to 100, between 50 and 100 for it. Because it took me, almost 2 weeks. Yeah, almost 2 weeks.
Hey!
Hey! My man, how the heck are you?
Hey, he's finally found you.
Yeah, you did all right, brother. 29th, in the middle of the holidays, we were under the bridge. We woke up to
December 29th.
Yes, last year, 2016. Right. We woke up at approximately 8:30 in the morning to a barrage of LAPD, and they immediately went and arrested all the men, cuffed us all up, right out of our tent. Right early, we were brought to this concrete pad, roughly where I'm standing. Anyway, 5 hours later, sitting in the sun, here, still cuffed. Then took us to the police department, put us in a holding room altogether for another 2 hours, cuffed. I was in cuffs almost 8 hours, so they finally took them off.
You were the first one out, though, I remember.
I was the first one out because I did not lie about a drug addiction. I did not lie about heroin and my usage. And I told them, there's things you're going to need if I am going to abruptly stop using heroin and be incarcerated. I'm going to need some things to help me sleep, help me with my GI, diarrhea, some other things to help me with indigestion. And they said they didn't have any of it. After throwing up some 15 to 20 times and then moving me a couple of times, the watch commander came down and said, if I cut you loose, will you be all right? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, get Craig White out of here in the next 10 minutes, right at the back door, escort him to the back door and cut him loose. I've been floating around, sleeping on the cement, on a piece of freaking cardboard. I have a bad back. They took everything.
most times I've been wiped out by the cops just for being homeless.
When you say wiped out, what do you mean?
Everything that I own. Everything.
Taken.
Yeah, literally everything. Come back and it's gone. You know, and then gone to jail for this and that. It's our councilman over here on Aqueduct over here is behind it all.
Right.
He's the one that's making it illegal to be on any of these bridges at any time, even if it's raining, from Devonshire to Sherman Way. His jurisdiction is only on the other side of that freeway. It's not on this side of the freeway. He has no jurisdiction over here because that's another councilman's job over here, and I met the man who was running for this position. Yeah, but he hates homeless people, and he's doing everything he can to wipe us out. Well, Diaz is one of his little left-hand or right-hand crew there that comes through here underhandedly and wipes you out. You know, he'll give you a ticket here, ticket there, and then they wait till you get in a few tickets, and they'll take you to jail for a few days on Friday and make sure that you're in there till Tuesday. But by then, you've lost everything you own.
I need you to go with me and Mike to get my stuff. We only have until the 22nd of next month.
This week?
Next month.
How are you sure you can find it?
Because they gave us an address.
Do they
And
give you
better
like
tell-
a receipt or anything like that?
No, they are supposed to know the date, the day, the area, and the...
So they just store everything by date when it was picked up?
Yeah.
When it was
and-
confiscated?
yeah, and after they dump it out of the trash trucks.
So they might have kept all of it or they might not have.
Yeah, I'm just totally pissed about this.
And how long ago was this stuff taken from you?
June 19th, I think, or June 22nd.
That's
one of
been
the two.
over 2 months. What are the chances
No,
everything's still there?
Where? Downtown?
Yeah.
It better be there. I'm gonna see the city.
This is not the first time you've gone through this, right? You
No,
have to do
it's
this
not.
before.
And complete another set of complete artwork.
So what do they take this time that you really want to get back? What's the main thing?
My artwork and my llama and mink coat and my jewelry, you know, and I mean my lantern. Yes, I have light.
Right.
And my nice clothes. I mean, they took everything. On my blankets, I have some beautiful blankets. Oops, every letter is
Let's drink to the hard-working people. Let's drink to the lonely of birth. Raise your glass to the good and the evil. Let's drink to the salt of the
So in this case, when Gracie, she said the raid happened, LAPD, sanitation, and whatever other resources, city and county resources showed up that day because as part of the HOPE team, so we don't just throw things away, right? Sanitation just doesn't throw things away. We have to conduct 3 attempts of outreach to that persons in that group. And then after giving those 3 outreaches, we pretty much tell them, warn them, hey, sanitation says, hey, we're gonna clean up this area and actually post it, right?
Right.
They see they post a sign that says, hey, on this date, this time, within 48 hours to 72 hours, this location is gonna be clean. And so it was posted.
Yeah.
The raid happened under the freeway?
Yeah, that was the first
Was
one.
it the 405 in
December
Nordoff?
29th, yeah.
Okay. And we obviously came in with sanitation, and sanitation threw away. You got arrested?
Everybody except for 2 people, they managed to get away, but the rest of us all went to jail.
So
and spent New Year's in jail too.
So you were in that encampment,
Yes.
tied into it.
Yeah.
And you'd been contacted and warned.
Yeah.
So you were aware of it.
Right, but we
Okay.
didn't think that was going to happen.
Okay. So yeah, that's
But, you know, hey, that's water under the bridge.
no. Well, and this is
It's
all
something
part
we
of.
learned.
And this
You
is
guys aren't joking.
this is awesome to have her here today.
I know them, I know the people, I know the businesses, and there's a couple of places that are homeless friendly, and they don't turn us away, they let us use the facilities, and, you know, it makes a big difference to be able to do that, and for a while we were able to use the electricity for charging our phones. That's another big issue too, is there's no place for us to charge up, to be able to stay in contact with Hope Team or you know, whomever.
I run a program that is very innovative. Unlike other programs where you have to go to court to clear citations and sometimes you have to have an attorney with you, we give individuals an opportunity to resolve old citations, old tickets, loitering, littering, driving without a license. And we do that out in the community, at community events that are in parks, that are at, you know, churches, in shelters. And all we ask folks to do is engage in services. Rather than paying fines they can't afford, we're asking folks to do the things that they might already be doing or they probably should be doing. Mental health therapy, substance use therapy, job training, job readiness, case management for housing. So we offer folks a chance to clear those old things that have been holding them back for years.
The goal is to assist people without having them utilize emergency rooms, jails. There's a cost to all of that, and we've come to realize that it's much more cost effective to assist these individuals rather than leave them on the street, arrest them for every minor infraction. We will not arrest our way out of this issue. It is impossible to do so. And there has been research done on the cost of what a homeless individual costs taxpayers just with emergency calls, 911, again, being incarcerated, court costs, hospital costs when someone has to stay overnight. And so there was research done on that, and it's definitely much more cost effective to assist a person with just obtaining housing and addressing their needs in the process. So hence the housing first model. Let's get them indoors, let's get them housed, and we will address their barriers or whatever is going on that led them to be homeless.
Why don't they put all this energy into fixing the home authority people? The people that assign housing, and why don't they take all this energy they're wasting on us and get this freaking department cleaned up and organized and working so that people like me don't have to wait 3 years for a place to live? And then there lies the problem. The police know this. The police know that the problem lies not with us. We're all willing to go to a place to live. We're all ready to go. Give me the keys. Where do I go?
Where's your friends?
They've all scattered like cockroaches when the lights go on. That's what they treat us like.
When he asks you your name, says, brother, we're all here in the same game, but you shrink back like he's a disease. Yeah, you shake and you moan, you say, oh, please take me home. And the homeless all sing the reprise. It's a hard hand to hold that
I can get you something to eat.
What, you want him to move where?
Huh?
You want him to move away?
I think, yeah, at night, if you know. Yeah.
It's easy.
You want something to eat?
Yes.
Okay, I get you something to eat.
Okay.
Okay, what would you like? Chicken fried rice? Huh? Chicken fried rice? I make you chicken fried rice.
Hang on a second. Hang on. Don't bulldoze me, man. Please. Okay. I'm tired of people telling me what I need to do. I need to go do something. I have an errand. And then I come back. You're here for a while.
Okay, whenever you want something to eat, yeah.
And then I'll move this when I come back.
I don't mind, yeah. Please, okay? When the customer come, they don't feel comfortable. I mean, he doesn't do anything wrong, but...
So you think he's keeping customers away?
Yeah, I think so.
I see.
Okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I don't mind, you know, I mean that, you know, why you have to take my picture? It's not fair. I have to take...
Look him in the eyes There's no need to be scared, he's as powerless as you and me. Though his face is well worn and his clothes a bit torn, that don't mean that you shouldn't believe. When he asks you your name, says, brother, we're all here in the same game.
Okay. I believe what we need to do is provide housing, shelter, because we have all these people that need help, but we don't have really places to provide for them. They're already filled to capacity. So we need more people coming on board and maybe empty lots turning into housing.
Shame on you for you're not supporting the police who want to shut down these drug addicts. Shame on you for that. Shame on you. The police need support. They don't need people like you to give these panhandlers who are aggressively stopping traffic and are stopping people and pounding on their doors for money. They should not be given money. Many of these people, not all, but many of these people are drug addicts.
It's a very complicated problem. Homeless people may or may not be addicted to drugs. Homeless people may or may not have mental illness, but it's something that has to be addressed, and so that's why we're here. It's called humanity and compassion.
Jose Huizar in his area, they were going to build a 49-unit shelter, and there was a lot of pushback from the community for environmental reasons, but also because people just basically didn't probably want something like that imposed on their community. And I think it puts some of these politicians and people in a very tough position, because on one hand they want to do something for the homeless, but on the other hand they feel obliged to please their constituents and serve them. So how much of a factor are these like sort of NIMBY issues and things like that?
I mean, I think they're huge. I think that if, we can have all the resources in the world, money, financial to support housing subsidies and services, but if we don't have places to put people, and we have to remember that, our homeless neighbors are, people, and they have rights and where they can go and where they want to be. And so, unless we start to find ways to acknowledge the fear that I think some people have in not wanting, the neighbors. I mean, they're there. I mean, they're a part of their communities now. People are concerned about, property values, but we've haven't found any research that shows that a public housing, development, will bring down property values. If not, it enhances it. And then I think having people just understand that, these times are different. I mean, I think that public housing or permanent supportive housing of the past, where there weren't many resources, was, okay, we got them housed and we're done with you and we're walking away. But now the fact that Measure H allows us to be able to provide that continued case management for families that need it, and make sure that, if the landlord is having issues or if there's something, they have a resource they can call. Sure. Our public housing now, our permanent supportive housing is beautiful. They're built, they're beautifully built to look great in the community and enhance, any kind of neighborhood. And so, I mean, I think just trying to find ways to educate our county residents is key.
While we can do all that we can to try to alleviate homelessness today, our only and best weapon is going to be prevent families from falling into homelessness tomorrow. And that includes his measure to increase the minimum wage. It's looking at and working closely with their county partners around exiting people out of foster care and out of jails and prisons, as well as people returning home from the military, to make sure that they have adequate bridge housing so they don't end up on our streets.
So when you're dealing with what you call transitioning youth, how much of a factor is homelessness in your equation of what you're prepared to do and what you're anticipating to have to deal with these kids?
It's the number one issue we see. In order to do any of the other casework that we do, connecting them to resources to access college, connecting them to employment, clearing identity theft, dealing with any other potential issue that might come up, our services are pretty broad. Homelessness is the number one issue, and until they have some kind of housing stability, all of the other issues are secondary and last on their list of priority, because if you don't have a place to sleep at night, you're not thinking about school in the same way that you are thinking about your survival.
Because we service people who have disabilities, we basically we work with a lot of disabled homeless people. And you see a lot of things, a lot of connections between mental illness, drug addiction, and physical ailments. It's almost like when someone is disabled mentally, they use drugs to kind of help them to self-medicate or to, just deal with their everyday life. And there's a huge correlation between homelessness and physical and mental disabilities. People can't work, so they're not getting that paycheck, and they can't provide for themselves, they can't buy their own food, they can't afford housing, especially in LA. I mean, it's so expensive to live out here.
What is the biggest challenge overall in this work that would help make your work more effective and perhaps cause real change that would actually, lessen the suffering of people who are homeless? It's a big question.
That is a huge question. So can I say that that's a huge question? So there are a number of different challenges. If we just start at the base level, understanding why people are homeless is probably one of the most important things that we can do. And to really understand that, there has to be lots of discussion. Lots of different community partners have to come to the table to have that discussion. A big part of the problem is dealing with mental health. I think that a larger part of the problem is mental health than is the economic equation. There's so many people who simply are sick, and so providing more housing doesn't necessarily solve the problem. Being able to provide housing along with social service components and mental health services, I think, is extremely important. But what we also are seeing is that oftentimes those programs are not run to an optimal level. And the challenge there is then that homeless persons won't go. They would prefer to live outside. There are many people we know who prefer to live outside than to take medications that are prescribed for them. There are economic challenges within the system. There are personnel challenges within the system. It's a problem that we don't necessarily have an answer for. And so what we do is the best that we can with the resources that we have. We try to help as many people as we can, but we also have to understand that many people are going to slip through the cracks. There's just no way around that. And one of the things that we talk about is acceptable mortality. We have to understand, as clergy working with the medical community, we have to understand that a certain number of people are going to die. And we do the best that we can to try and prevent that acceptable mortality rate, to try and reduce the numbers of people who are suffering on the streets. But we also have to know that there are a lot of people who just don't want our help. What they want is to eat today, and we get that. And what they want is to continue on the path that they are on. We get that too. And we still make an effort to try and help, but we know that a lot of people simply are not going to accept the help that's available to them.
The most challenging part is seeing that there's so much we can do and not being able to do everything. Kind of having to limit yourself because of resources, because of the funds that you have or don't have. I think that's the most challenging thing, but I think overall what keeps us just being here and is just seeing one person, even if it's one person that is helped and their lives improved, that just keeps you going and says, okay, at least I made a difference in one person's life.
And what do you think needs to be done overall by the government, the city, charity groups, the public, that is not being done to make your work more effective?
I think just working together, being more, having that collaborative spirit where we're working together, we're identifying the needs, and just nonprofits working in side by side, okay, and tackling different issues. I think government really looking at what are the needs in those communities and how they can funnel funds into those areas. I think it's really having conversations with the different groups that are helping these communities and saying how can we best service it with law enforcement, with you know, the city, with the Senate, with the county. I mean, everybody working together and just really tackling the issues in the community and finding ways to improve and finding the resources. I think it's not just the nonprofit's job to find resources. I think it's everybody finding a way to make a difference.
You guys can do it on your own too. You don't need to be a nonprofit to get involved. People will donate money to you. I got $800 in 2 days, and I am not a nonprofit. I work with nonprofits, but I want communities and high schools to know that you don't need that number to do something in this community. You have an idea, you need to go with it. So whether you want to go ahead and buy 24 cases of water and just hand them out, please do. We need people to offer, the community to come in and offer stuff like painting classes, book clubs, something to keep these people cool down, but also to socialize and kind of escape the problems they're going through.
This organization is a Brown by Ministry. We feed homeless, and it's like, this is not church organization. This is my own and my wife's organization and my daughter. And we go to the store. It's a place in San Fernando Road. They sell shoes for $20. We buy some shoes. We went to Big Five. We buy some paint, and we buy shoes, clothes. And we fix sandwich, we drove around and feed the homeless, anybody who need.
God created everyone to be loved. He created love is like food and water. We need those things to sustain us and to balance us for good mental and social health. And when you feel worthless and devalued and treated in, you know, society in ways that are totally inhumane and sometimes they're abused, abusively they're treated, the homeless. It's not a good thing. I've been homeless. I was homeless in South Carolina, and it will wear on you. You know, everybody still needs to feel that human touch. You know, we need to treat people, like living, breathing human beings. We have a segment of society that cares more for homeless and abused animals than we do our people. And yeah, I think it would bring anybody, it would crush anybody emotionally, yeah.
And we live in such a disposable society where, you know, you hear about tough love, and I think people are maybe sometimes going too far with that. And they're forgetting about the humanity. These are people. Every single one of us. And we get nowhere if we don't treat people with respect and dignity. Anytime I come at somebody and I start with "you're doing this" or "you should be," it doesn't work. People immediately get defensive. I don't know what their story is. I don't know what got them to where they are now. And for me, it's irrelevant. Where do you want to go from here?
From peace in this land, we will never, drive you away. We will never drive you away from peace in this land. We will never, drive you away from peace in this land.
loose. Good God Almighty. Can I heck alone and say yeah?